You haven't been here for a while, Pete. Nothing's changed. So it's basically the same message.
Good, because everything else has.
That's right. Exactly. There is some very good qualities to it. It never changes. And it's a stubborn fact, really, which is nice. It's a fact. And then from the fact, you can see a lot of the assumed facts, that basically produce seemingly a real flaw, and then we live off of that flaw. F-L-O-O-R. I'll spell it, yes. So, if the fact isn't sort of attended to, then the assumed facts are assumed to be facts, because a system, the thought system, the memories, the perceptions, how we see things and everything, and how it gets interpreted, are based on an assumed fact, So there's seeing, but then the mental state assumes the seeing implies a seer, To the point now, the seer is doing the seeing. You see it? So they're seeing, that's happening. And if you really feel it, the seeing, the hearing, the feeling, the tasting, the touching, there's no volition in it, really. You may not touch something, but if you touch something, you're going to feel it. Yes? It doesn't matter, you may avoid touching things, but whatever thing you touch, you're going to feel it. And the same thing with seeing, you can take a vow, but if your eyes are open and a bird flies by, you're going to see the bird, So our own experience is disputing the narration. If you just look at it, just see it. And it doesn't seem to be exhibiting any effort, does it? It's not, I'm not trying hard to see right now. There's just seeing. It's just, the eyes may go bad. I may need glasses, but the seeing doesn't need glasses. The thing is, the seeing sees through something, seemingly. It appears, and then that which it sees through seems to have an effect on the seeing, So if the eye is bad, or like Jesus says, those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, If the eye isn't really seeing, it's more about reinforcing an assumed fact, yes? So now the seeing will be used to reinforce the seer. It's such a weird thing. Now the seeing doesn't go out and do that, it's used. The seeing is just seeing, it's its nature. Its nature expressed through the eyes is seeing. Its nature expressed through mind is seeing. Awareness is seeing. You're not seeing a thing, but you're seeing revelations or ideas. You're seeing them. This is the real seeing, actually. And then this is a physical form of seeing. And then there's hearing and tasting and touching. And those 5 expressions of consciousness are onness, There's an onness, there's an ability to know without learning the ability to know. You're conscious of things. And a lot of things you're conscious of, thoughts and stuff, you'd rather not be. But you are, because you're conscious. So whatever's appearing on the screen is usually going to be noted, at least some level of it, And then your sense of power comes after the noting of it by, I didn't want to note that. You know what I mean? So the idea of you comes after the experience of this place. It comes after, but it says that it's the experiencer. It's an assumed fact. It's like it's a trip. If you could get the flavor, it's like something that isn't so is implied to be so, and it's implied to be historically so, and historically in the future so. So when it's implied to be so now, it's just not now. It infers it was here before. Oh, it's an incredible move, really. Because this wouldn't be that convincing. But when it arises, it presupposes that it's the one that's been arising the whole time. That's unbelievable. You can see it. It's just See, hopefully with shares, you're trying to slow it down in time so that you can see it. So you explain it, you know. You try to explain the mechanisms of what's happening here, not who it's happening to, or is there an authentic you that the you that you are authentically taking to be so is looking for. All that, yeah, seems absurd once you get clear on what's assumed and what's so, yeah? It just clears things up. It's like in Zen they would say, you know, you'll see blue is blue and red is red. There'll be no confusion. You won't be mixing up the colors. So you'll see what's so, you know, appearing, and you'll see what's not so. Yeah. And by seeing what's not so, you get more of a intimation of the fact that you are. Yeah. It's not assumed. It is. Yeah. Everything else that comes after it is assumed. So its sense of being now was assumed that it was being then, and it's going to be being there. That's how it arrives at this idea. But it's a move, you know. So seeing, just get that right now. Seeing something cognizes the seeing or becomes conscious of the seeing, and along with that something, there's something else that sees the seeing as an implying of the seer, really, yeah? So now the seeing is implied the seer, and then for the seer to get reinforced, it sees things. So there's the seeing. And then if you notice, all day, there's many scenes, but there's one seer, yeah? There's thousands of scenes. You know, you've seen so many different things, but the implied was there was one seer of them all. Not the one as the seeing, but the one as Paul. And like an apparition, a mental image, yeah? That's given flesh and blood by the identification as a body. Yeah? The body isn't what we're really identified as. The body symbolizes the identification. It's not we, it's the mental state. The mental state is identified as the doer, the feeler, the thinker, the taster, the toucher. It derives its reality from what's happening. Yeah? So it just makes a leap. It says the seeing, oh, there must be a seer and seeing. Hearing, hearer, heard. Yeah? So it gets split. You call it like a dualistic split. And this is when they talk about duality. That's one of the things they're talking about, the subject-objectness of our experience here, yeah? Or actually the interpretation of experiences here. It's a subject-object interpretation, and non-duality is just, there would be no need for it before. It comes at, you know, you hear of non-duality after the duality's in place, but then if you hear it, it's seen to be before. So the assumed fact gets sort of moved out of its position by a fact, and the fact is negating the assumed fact, yeah? So it doesn't negate seeing, but it negates the seer and the seen. It's just saying there's no duality, there's no subject-object, all there is seeing. All there is hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, whatever. You know, all there is ising, so to speak, yeah? There wasn't a wasing and a will being, it's ising, yes? So now, oh, you've heard, it sounds like you've heard it from duality, and this is the drag, in a way. You know, we're in the format of duality when we hear of non-duality. So now suddenly, that which takes itself to be the subject-object, now thinks the object is the absolute subject. So, you know, it still translates everything, even non-duality in duality. It translates it to the only language it knows, the only frame it has. Yeah. So this is why the message of non-duality can't be left at that. There's got to be descriptions of how the dualistic system will reinforce itself even when confronted with the topic of non-duality. It's going to get to a point where it's going to be seen as trying to be a non-self as a self. Yeah? This is so it isn't enough. It could be enough to hear, hey, not two. But what I found is time seems to continue on, and the not two gets turned into something else. Yeah, and then if you catch that little molding, it throws another mold. It casts another mold, then it casts another mold. It does maybe 5 or 7 of them or 6. You know, after you hit a few of them, the casting of the mold doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean it makes anything. It's just casting a mold. Yeah, it doesn't mean it makes something that now becomes an impediment. It only takes the role of being an impediment if you don't see it, really. Yeah? Because if you don't see it, you're going to be calling it you, and therefore it has the ability to thrust you into the conundrum of using what you are to look for what you are, you know, as what you're not. And so obviously, you wouldn't need 800 pages of explanation to see something's wrong with that. You just hear the sentence once. Wait a minute. If I'm using what I am to look for what I am, how well is that going to go? Obviously, there's something off there that would cause that to keep triggering. Yeah. So, and then the beautiful thing is, we did it last week somewhere. I don't know. I think it was at the church in Marin. But you run into the core programmings or the source code of the system that's a failed system, which is described as self can't get out of self. The system can't get that. The system will keep pulling away and trying to drive through self as a self, and you're not going to call the dog off. It's going to keep hitting its head. It's not going to stop because it's like insane. No, it can't. It's sort of like it's hit its little aberration, and there's like, you know, like we were talking in I read a couple years ago about the robocalls that are using artificial intelligence. If you ask them, are you a real human? They can't say that. And so they go, oh, and then suddenly they shut down. Yeah? Because they do. Because it sounded like they were a person, but then you stump the system, and the system can't get out of the system. There's a lot that it can't get through. Yeah? So this is the beauty of seeing what you're not, because you'll see self can't get out of self, because that's what it's attempting to do all the time. It's attempting to get out of itself as itself and be there when it gets out of itself as that self and got out. You know what I mean? It just doesn't grok it. It's insane. You know, so you've now seen the source code. In recovery, we talk about, you know, why are you in so much fear today? And it goes, and the people who wrote the book don't leave much room. They immediately answer it and say, isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? So there's a reliance on a failed system, and that failed system, relying on it, is producing or provoking anxiety of how well it's going to go because it hasn't gone well. So no matter how many ways you try to paint it or put, how many fucking legs on the steak or lipstick on the pig, there's still a piggishness about it. It's just, and so you see the failedness of the system. So what happens? Maybe there'll be a stopping of trying to get out of self as self. Yeah. Maybe there'll be a stopping of using the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Yeah, just may hit you that deeply. Yeah? And so now, something has reverberated and hasn't been claimed by the system. It's reverberating on its own, and it's affecting the system, not swallowed by it. It's reverberating through the system like an outside, the system wasn't, the system gets a little bit, because it's, something it always knows. The system knows it's in existence, really. Yeah, it does. It knows it's in existence. Yeah. That's why it's in so much anxiety, because it's just waiting to be found out. It's probably unbelievably surprised it hasn't been. Because really, it's a pretty flimsy narration it's relying on. And a lot of faulty assumptions. I mean, huge amount of assumptions. Yeah. So if you just pulled one of the threads out, the whole sweater would unravel. You just see it, not much, isn't it? And then what happens? I don't know, find out. Maybe you'll have a, existential relief, yeah? That won't be based on conditions and circumstances, nor on you. And so, in time, there'll be a sense of reliability about it because it's always available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary to meet it, because you are it. You're way past the point of knowing it or experiencing it. You are it. See, if you weren't it, then maybe you could know it. But you are it. That's why you can't know it. It's not like knowledge is, you're exiled from knowledge of that. That would be like a mental hell. It would make up. But no, you can't know it because you are it. You can't. There's no way you could be something else and know it. Yeah. So the knowing it, the experience of it, the understanding it, there's none of that. But you do know what you're not. Yeah, you do. You come to an understanding of what you're not. You know what you're not. Yeah. And you're experiencing what you're not all day. That's the interface here. The interface is what you're not, is the vehicle of experience and of narration, and the narration continues. So now you can travel as that because you're not that. Yeah. It's not denied, it's negated in a way. What's negated is its long-lasting, independent, separate entityness. Yeah. That's what's negated. And you don't have to unbuild something, it was never so. Yeah, so it's like it's one of the easiest things to do because there's nothing to do. Really. Yeah. All you see is what you're not, and then the fact of non-duality is now in its rightful place, not after assumed facts, but before the assumed facts. Now, the assumed facts are still lived, many of them, as this, because that's the programming of this. But now, they're not facts. Yeah? Neither are you. And there's that's the traveling lighter. It's not like everything goes great for you, though it may get much better, But you'll travel lighter through whatever is in store for this action figure. That's what will happen, And then after a while, on this level, really, what more do you want? The idea of this is as the chariot of a god is ridiculous, or this is going to play 18 holes of golf every day in a heaven. It's not happening. This body it's only appearing here. It's not leaving here. It's appearing here. Yeah. Based on a lot of false assumptions. Yeah. Now, they don't have to go. It's just a fact that is a fact is in its rightful place. The horse is now in front of the car, so to speak. So the fact that there is no two, and now it doesn't make the two that's running around a special one. No, that doesn't go. Everyone who's in here is going to think you're Paul. And think Paul's got a lot of blind spots. And for someone who's supposed to be so clear, how could Paul be like this? Well, that's the conundrum, because this action figure, it can only, it's getting perfected is very limited. It has certain levels of, it's going to get to this point, and then the Urban Renewal Project would be better called off because it's not going to get great as this. Yeah, it's, I mean, I got run over by a car. That happened. So my idea of being a pro surfer isn't going to happen. Yeah. Why? Because there's the body. So the body has its limitations. Yeah. So you're not demanding it to be what you think is a mythical subject that should be fucking clear and bright, loving gaze, blissed out all the time. That very rarely happens. And if it can happen in India, and the person will have 2 attendees in a cave, but here you'll be in an insane asylum, probably. And you'll have attendees in white, but you know, accompanied with a straitjacket and rubber room, whatever. You know what I mean? It's basically the locale makes the wise sage or the insane person. Really, it's not much difference. It's a very fine line. Really, it is. So you just lose interest in a lot of that, the perfection of that which can't be perfected. You know, you just see it as, it just becomes clear. And you don't try to hedge your bet, like, oh, what if I'm wrong? You don't care about that either. You just show up, and like I've been moved to speak since, what's like 20-something years, 7 years. I've caused a lot of, not even caused, but I participated in a lot of distraction for some people, you know, or thinking I'm doing harm and stuff by what I say, but I've never said any of it. I'm just passing on what's passing through. Basically, it's not me passing it on, it's just coming through. And the validity of it has been, you know, thoroughly acknowledged by seeing, yeah, that's all I can go for. So, now, hearing all this, then let's say, so like today I was at an AA meeting, and the AA meeting was, all right, you gotta be willing to believe that something greater can do for yourself, or you can do for yourself what you can't do for yourself. Something like that. But the way it sort of to me was to really come to believe that I'm not managerial quality was a very good starting point. To see the failedness of this system and what's being relied upon was a very nice platform or diving board to jump off from. Yeah. So I didn't go with, oh, the power that. I just saw the failedness of this. I just saw it. You know, it's like, Jesus, I'm not managerial quality. Like I got struck sober. One of the first things that came up was I'm fucked, and the next statement was I'm not managerial quality. And it's never come up for review every year, never, no debates. It was just, I've been convinced. It was a complete convincing in like a second. It was like dyeing a cloth, but with just a second. From white to black, just, and it's never changed. Yeah, and if I was a new person, what I'd pray for was the ability to be convinced, really. Or to lose interest in that which will never be convinced, because this is dualistic. It's convinced, unconvinced, convinced, unconvinced, yes? There's never going to be a stabilization of convincement here. It's not. It's got to be in what they would infer as the innermost or somewhere other than the thought system. But we have the ability to be convinced. So there it was. I was convinced of what? Of the futileness of attempting to use this system to get out of this system. Really. And so that ended. Yeah. And then I realized, since I've been 6, I've been trying to get out of here my whole life in so many various ways. And now, I don't try to, I'm completely here because I know I'm not here. That's the only way it can work for me, seriously. Because I know I can't transcend an imaginary place. I'm clear on that, completely convinced. Yeah? You're not going to get out of here because you were really never in here. This is an inning of here. Yeah? It's a verb. We're dreaming. We're dreaming all this, and every night we go somewhere else where we're not dreaming all this, just so, and then the next day we seem to dream all this. This is going to come to an end, you know. This isn't, you're not going to be here at 400 years. You're going to be here maybe 80, 90 years, yeah? I'm like maybe 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4 of the way through. I'm getting near the end finish line, you know. And you know what's funny? You slow up more. It's like, what the fuck? You know, you can't get out of here. It's a lovely, lovely realization. Because you'll stop, then you get to see the underlying provoking of all that seeking. You'll see it, and you'll see the erroneousness of it. I mean, why not? You have the ability to see it. You'll see it, and then this will change before your eyes, really. Before your eyes, this will change. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so then what happened with me was I just got a lot of downloads of how what we're not is established and reinforced and implied and insinuated. You know, and I saw maybe 5 or 6 of its major moves, and then, you know, I could see 90 of them, but they were based on the same few steps, you know, just little wearing different outfits, but it was the same moves, really. So the first one, the biggest one, was claiming. You know? I saw the mental state, whatever it is, some idea of being you, claims the verbing to imply there's a noun, yeah, and you become the noun. Yeah, that's what it does. So everything is verbing. The mental state claims the verbing to imply the noun, and then the noun is presupposed to be before the verbing. So now you're asked backwards, really. The horse is behind the cart. It's just unbelievable. It's just like that, you know. And you're starting at a rigged beginning and finish line. It's all rigged already. By the time you become conscious, you're formatted completely, really, you know? So there's a claiming. The claiming of what? The claiming of what's happening, yeah? To imply there's a someone that's doing it or being done to by it, really, yes? There's a claiming. So its main movement is claiming. So there's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, thinking, all this going on. The mental state becomes aware of it or conscious of it, yeah, through the light of consciousness, not through its own light, yeah? Its light is all fucking borrowed, yeah? It claims it, and it says the seeing, there's definitely a seer. And then definitely the seeing, and now the interest and attention goes to the poles, you know? You forget the feeling of seeing, hearing, feeling like when you were a kid, and now you have an interpretation of seer, seeing, hear, or heard. So the living of life is now an interpretation of life's happening to me. Instead of life's happening, it's life's happening to me, yes? And now life happening to me gets presupposed before the life happening. It's incredible, really. It's just an incredible move. If we had a class, the first few years would be on time, you know. Time is the magic trick. The feeling of time is the magic trick. That which comes after, yeah, the idea of being the noun is implied to be before. So now the noun says it's doing all the verbing, when it didn't do any of the verbing. The verbing occurs, the noun arises from the claiming of the verbing, and now the narration is the noun did it. And if you're in an extreme example of this, like addicts or alcoholics, that gets very, very stretched, the idea of being the doer, because you realize when you were under the influence, you were apt to do almost anything to anybody. And it's hard for the narrative to have enough elasticity to surround that fucking big elephant in the room. But the stubbornness of the programming is quite strong, yes? So you'll keep feeling guilty and shameful. You won't, but the mental state will keep producing guilt and shame based on you as the doer of a lot of shit you had nothing to do with. It's incredible. So you're carrying on in this way of, you're carrying on this life, tons of fucking extra weights. And then you want to get out of that weight, but that which wants to get out of the weight is the biggest weight. Yeah? It's incredible, really. And then, you know, being buried by all this, you're out to do almost anything. You're driven to, you know, you want to get relief, or at least avoid it, or in no way do I want to be by myself. It'll be boring as hell, and it's just eating whatever. These reactions to this existential threat of being, you know, an emperor with no clothes on. It's just incredible. It just provokes so much activity. And of course, there's the claiming of it all. If I'm the one did it, why do I keep doing this fucking thing? When am I going to learn? Well, maybe you should learn that you're not the one that's doing this fucking thing. Maybe, I don't know. It may help you. Because if you chop down, if you're the grower of trees and you chop down one tree, there's probably going to be 5 trees that are going to grow in this place, yes? And you're never going to see your role in things. That we are giving everything all the meaning it has, that we are the dreaming. We are the dreaming. Yeah? We're taking ourselves to be the camera that's facilitating this certain standard version of dreaming. Yeah? We take ourselves to be the camera when we're the light. The camera's not going anywhere until tonight when you go to deep sleep or when you pass away. That'll be like it never was here. But right now, yeah, you're probably going to wake up about and the story of Amelia will continue. Yeah, and so, I don't see why the real value is traveling later, not as this, but from it. Yeah. This will be an expression of the lightness. It won't be the cause of it. It will not be the doer of it. Yeah? You'll see it as an expression, and there'll be no ability to claim it because your mental arm can't reach that far back. It's so clear that you had nothing to do with it. And you can't claim it. Yeah? And it's so beautiful when something is out of reach of that fucking mental hand. Yeah? And this is. That which comes after cannot reach back before the before. There's no fucking way. Yeah. That which comes after is after. That which is before is before. The horse is before the cart. See, you think it's the after is going this way, but no, the before, yeah, is really the goal. Yeah? Yeah? So you would think, oh, now it looks like the horse is in front, the cart's in front of the horse. No, this is exactly the direction it is. Yeah, exactly. The horse is grazing in what is, shitting and doing everything. And then the cart's got all of us in it trying to fucking move towards the goal where the horse already is. We don't have any traction because the horse already knows. So you just catch it, yeah, once. It takes once is to get a little bit of a dog move, like, what? Wait a minute, let me question what's going on here. And then, people see, you can see trust the process as an observational statement, but if you're in the mental condition, you'll think it's like a fucking order you have to do. You gotta trust them. No. You just observe, trusting the process. You observe stuff. Yeah, this is what this does. It's an expression and an observation. That's what I feel. I don't see it as a cause at all. Only in this fucking court of the fucking body world are we convicted of things as a body. It's all mind, yeah? So, catch it. Claiming is the big one. You want to see it in English language, the narration of the seer, the word my. The word my is where the weight is distributed to the things that come after it. So there's money, my money, totally different. Yeah, relationship, my relationship's totally different. Health, oh yeah, my health, fucking incredibly different. Yes, the sense of owning or being the proprietor or somehow the cause of things is really where the weight that's distributed to the thoughts about it and to the actions about it. That's where it comes from. It's the mind. It's not the problem, it's the one who has the problem. Yeah? That's the bigger problem. Literally, yeah? It's not the thinking, it's the thinker. Yeah? From the thinker's point of view, it wants to be free from the thinking. Yeah? It does. The only thing that really wants to get free from the thinking is the idea of being the thinker. If you lose interest in the thinker, you'll lose interest in the thinking. And the volume will go down, definitely. It will. And silence will register even more. And then that pause, that you hope for, maybe had 5 or 6 times in your life, will be basically established in a way. You will start the day before thought, really. Yeah? You're definitely never going to try to use thought to arrive there. you definitely see the failedness of thought. Yeah. So the mind. So you see the mind. Yeah. So the difference. Problem, my problem. You can see it, right? If you waited. Thought, maybe an ounce. My thought, a pound. Yeah. Really. So where's the weight coming from? Not the thought. You had the thought you saw as a thought didn't have the weight that same thought had with my before it. The my, that's the activity of what we're not aware of. Yeah? Giving weight and meaning to shit. And then we find out the meaning like on a very consequential level. We're fucking out to lunch in a lot of ways. We are. Really, we are. There's nothing right or wrong with it. We're out to lunch though. We don't know what's going on. Like I used to talk about being into the hallway of shit and fans, you know? And then so you never see that. The hallway of shit and fans never turns on until you enter. As soon as you enter the hallway, the shit and fans go on. You don't see it. But I've got to run the gauntlet. Well, hey, no, you're the provoker of it all. Yeah, like in AA, one of the first big waves of recovery is when you see your role in things. In small little areas, this is a leap into seeing your role in things as the dreaming of the whole fucking place. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's the claiming, it's the my, and then, all right, so now, there's the hearing, this is concerning the message. So here you are, you think you're hearing the message, yeah? But the message isn't to you, it's hopefully through you. I'm hoping to get it through you, to what you are, yeah? So just to be aware of that when you hear the message, the mental state's claiming of being a hearer is very fast, and it's probably going to be assumed that it's hearing the message. Now you can see that, yeah? It doesn't mean it stops, it just doesn't, it doesn't obscure the fact, yeah, that you're, yes. Yes? Here it would, but here it doesn't. Yeah. So when you see it occurring, it loses its ability, which it has when you look at it from here. So when you are the product, so here's the simple thing. So here's selfing and self. All right, so selfing going on. So then people call me up and they go, I got that idea. It's a great idea. And I just want to tell you, I've been selfing all day. Yes, see? So the selfing was used to imply the noun of, let's say, Steve. And then Steve calls me up and says, I've been selfing all day. That's the illustration of what I'm sharing. You see it? And then the next person, all right, selfing's been driving me crazy. Yeah, again. Yes? They show up after what we said. Yeah, they show up after the heist. So you describe the heist, and then they call you, thinking they know the heist, but they've been heisted, so to speak. So yeah, because there's a simple thing: the verbing is happening, and the noun is additional. But then a noun is presupposed to be before the verbing. That's where the ownership occurs, yeah? So now that's where pride arises from, self-esteem arises from, which are some good qualities. But if you look at the word self in the old dictionaries, they had a hyphen and they had like 120 attributes of self, like self-love, self-trust, and self-destruction, self-immolation, self-fucking-burning myself, self-hatred. So if you weighed them, there was about 100 that were in the contracting nature, and maybe 30. So you're in a losing battle. If you're appearing, if you're the imaginary fact, self, that's what you're having. That's a bad starting point. It's like, Jesus Christ, that's why, That's why when, after just 4 years of active alcoholism and addiction, my ideas of success had been melted down to like not getting arrested. That's what I was shooting for. With my mother's great, oh, you have so much potential, Paul. Yeah, I just don't want to get arrested. That was it. So can you imagine for that to be melted down so quickly? So recovery, in a sense, we were sharing this the other day at an AA meeting. Recovery is just, in the body condition. There's a pH, right? Alkaline and acidic. And if the body's acidic, certain things thrive in it, yeah, and other things don't. And then, so a lot of people want to change to alkaline because then these chronic conditions change. Not going at the conditions themselves, but changing the petri dish they're living in. So if you can change the environment, certain things don't like it. It's hostile to them. They're gonna fucking take off. Yeah. But if it's hospitable, they're gonna thrive. So the whole point in AA, in a sense, to me, is changing the pH. Really. So we're trying to change the pH of an overly mental condition, very acidic, to sort of a recognition of not being that, and then a spiritual condition coming from your nature, which would be the alkaline. Yeah. And so now the parasite called alcoholism can't thrive in the alkaline pH. Yeah. It needs the acidic. Yeah. And so now you're taking away its environment. Yeah. So it either weakens and goes dormant there, but it's not going to be the king of the fucking jungle anymore because it's weak. Yeah. Because it was thriving in a certain setting and it's not thriving now. This is what the way of life of recovery is. Yeah? Perhaps there's a better way, trusting something infinite rather than finite self. That changes the pH. Yes?
Very good.
And then, yes, so now it beckons a lot of other possibilities and a lot of other experiences, and you'll know peace. In this new pH, you'll know peace and understand the words, serenity and all this shit. Those same things as you knew hell and everything else in the other pH, you're going to know what's going to grow in this. Yes? Yeah, it's beautiful. As an expression. Now, what we are is before that. Yeah? What we are is before that, always established at all times, with no requirement necessary, nor is there anything to be done or undone about it. Yeah? It just is. Why not, like you were saying, everything is changing all the time. Why not bring that one quality that's not here to here through us? We are of that non-changingness, and we're in a place or a dreaming of changing completely. We're not going to find what we're looking for in the end. We're going to express in the end what we're of. Yes? That works. And when you get a taste of it working, you'll see all that wasn't working. You'll see it. You'll see it clearly. You'll see the problem from the solution. You'll recognize it finally, really. And then a lot of shit can be put to rest. You'll be convinced. You'll realize, I cannot use this. Yeah, I can't. This is not going to get it. It's impossible. It doesn't have the programming. It doesn't have the mechanism. It doesn't have it. Yeah? So, perhaps there's a better way, trusting something infinite rather than finite self. You can't trust or have faith in finite self more than taking yourself to be it. You can't go anywhere. I mean, we always used the thing of, I did a lot of cocaine, but I never ever thought I was cocaine. Ever. Once. Yeah. But we're starting from being identified as the drug we're on. The mental state is addicted to the idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler. Yes, it's addicted to it. And we're calling ourselves the drug itself. Shit. And I thought I was if you looked at a graph, I was way up in cocaine addiction in my little milieu. I was. I mean, I dedicated my whole fucking life to it. Yeah, I was full bore. I'd fucking overdose in the pursuit of seeing where I could go with it all. Yeah? That would be here. Being identified with coke would be way. It would make this child's play. We're so identified, we don't know. We don't even know the condition. We're bitching about all these other conditions. We very rarely even look at the conditions. I mean, you know, it's like when we do these talks and go into very incredible, subtle concepts, and then we'd say, oh, next week's meeting is being moved, and every chaos would ensue. I mean, how are we assuming we can understand this? We can't even. Where is the meetings? You know, we're just having faith, and the only way is to know it's already so. So you can't miss. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You misled someone. No, you didn't. That misleading probably led them to somewhere else. Yes, nothing, everything here can be beautifully put to use. Everything. Yeah, everything. Like the Course would say, your greatest failures were your greatest successes, and your greatest successes were your worst failures. Yeah, it's always this. It's such an extreme dualistic thing. Yeah, so yeah, just. I hope if we're here 5 years later and you come back, and then you'll say the same thing, they'll say, no, nothing's changed. Yes, there's nothing new in non-duality. And you know, it's just, to me, it's the light that illuminates the path I'm on, which is a sober light. Yeah. So, I'm not using the path to find the light. The path is used to express the light, really. Yeah. This needed a way of life, it has one, and pretty much that which was unsubdued is subdued 31 years now. It's not causing much havoc. Yeah, and if it does, I make amends quickly. You know what I mean? It's not like demanding a lot of maintenance anymore. So, mine can go unfettered. All right, any questions today?
I have a question.
Yes. Time's out.
My second question. There's a confusion when you say it's always available here and now, and there's the onness. What about when you're unconscious or when you're sleeping?
Well, you're still there.
What do you mean you're still
What
there?
you are still there.
How do you know that?
Because you wake up. That's the only way you would know it. If you stayed there, you would never have known this ever happened.
That's true. But, okay, so only through conscious contact. I guess I'm questioning, but while you're awake, I can say that there's a oneness.
Yes.
How can that extend to when you're not awake? I don't know this.
Well, see, in this onness, there seems to be someone who's aware of it. In the onness, the naked onness of deep sleep, there's no one there to be aware of it. Yeah? I would say that's the truth, actually. This is the dreaming. That's not the dreaming. Yeah, this is the dreaming. What you are can't know what it is. It just is, yes? Here, in the play of what you're not, there can be an intimation of what you are in this play of what you're not. Maybe that's the joy of it, yeah? Maybe the only way what you are could get a glimpse of itself would be dreaming it's something else, yeah? And then slowly but surely have the interest in the something else diminish and the interest go like fading out of a picture into what has always been. Who knows? Maybe that's it. Maybe we're like 80-year, 90-year pictures that full of it, and then you lose interest in what you're not, and then there's just blending into all there is. Who knows? Be a nice picture, wouldn't it? So basically, there's no... See, the beautiful thing here, you can't lose or win. There's nothing you can do to make yourself anything other than what you are. So it doesn't matter. Yeah? Sure, I want to avoid shit. I'm not that wants to avoid shit, but there's a wanting to avoid shit. Sure, all that stuff. Was I successful? No, most of my younger life. But I have been lately, thank God. Of course, there's all these preferences and stuff, but I'm not beholden to that. This is a decree that lasts 80 years. When the proclamation is eternal. I mean, why would I pledge allegiance to the 80 years? Yeah. Yes?
I'd like to talk about cameras, so maybe you can add to this or see if I'm getting it right. So like, I'm picturing like Madison Square Garden, there's like a video camera. So we're thinking we're this video camera that's interpreting everything when really just the basketball game is going on, and that's consciousness and that's life. Is that too simplistic, or can you add something to that?
Yes, in a way.
Okay.
In a way, yeah. This place in dreaming, it's a dream, it's a dualistic dreaming, so that there's an experience. So subjects think they're experiencing objects, yeah? From my point of view, you're an object, and from your point of view, I'm an object. And both points of view think they're subjects, yes? So we're having experiences all day. Now, this is the setting for that to occur. If there wasn't a seeming separation, there wouldn't be any experience, yeah? So this is sort of, you can look at it as a, Six Flags, like in the universe. You're going to go to an amusement park, and you've got a platinum card, and you say, I want to really be fucking fooled. And so and suddenly you're on the roller coaster, and you want to get off, but you paid the high price. This is going to look as real can be. So no one's going to take you, listen, because you paid. I paid the highest, all right, you're going to be screaming to get out of here. No. Yeah? But the dilemma is, here you are on the roller coaster, you want to get off the ride, but this is the ride. This is the ride. It thinks it's wanting to get off of a lot of rides that are here, but this is the ride. So, I mean, you bought a ticket for 80 years, 90 years. Fucking enjoy the thrills, I guess. I don't know. You can look at it that way. Is that true? No, but I mean, nothing is. I'm just painting a picture, but I like that one. I like the idea of the fading of you as the singularity into the midst of all there is, Maybe what it'll take, 80, 90 years. It's like this camera, it's on slow-mo. You made time, and you're just slowly losing interest in you, and then there's a gaining interest. And it's beautiful, really. It's almost like a flower opening. But I can see it that way. I can see it a lot of ways. Are they any of them true? How do I know? I'd have to know after I'm gone, and then there won't be anyone there anyway. So, yes. So it's all speculation. But I don't know, but beyond this, they talk about it as deep sleep. The deep sleep is there's no conscious of, yeah? That's us, really. And then the play starts when there's an arising of a consciousness that can be conscious of, yeah? And then that's our day, and then we get a big break, go to deep sleep, yeah, get all energized up, everything gets relaxed, just to get fucked up again the next day, yeah? I mean, it's amazing. For us that we take ourselves to be so important, we're really off the game board like a third of the time of each day. 8 hours, we're not even, everything seems to be proceeding as planned. You can find anything. It's you dreaming. So if you, whatever brings, to me, one of the most nicest feelings comes from the Course in Miracles, where it says, you know, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. I don't like the dream, but you and I are the dreaming. And we're going to dream ourselves out of it. And as we do the dreaming, we'll get happier. What a beautiful thought to me. If I was in a place of time, which we are, and in this, that would be a very soothing balm. Wow. So, because I can see in my observations that the dream has gotten happier. So I must be nearing the end. Hallelujah. It doesn't say it's going to go into eternal happiness. It says the dream will be get happy, and then, you know, it's not like the Paul Hedderman show is going to get extended. Oh, it's syndicated. So the weird thing is there's going to be a lot of videos of me when me ain't here. I picture my death scene of sitting in a room with a big TV watching myself as I pass away. And then and then see another me doing the same thing that happened to me. Yes, yeah, ad infinitum. It'd be hilarious in a weird way. Can you imagine it? We found him watching videos of himself. It had come to that. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I just love the message because it's brought an ease and comfort, and just so many, and taken away so many impossibilities, and the assumed possibility of impossibilities have been, you know, the balloons have been popped. So it's pretty, yeah. My idea of success is very meager now. So, all right, well, that's it. We won't be there this Saturday. Hey, I'll be in Toronto if anyone's interested. This weekend. Go to zenbishslap.com. Thank you.